What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm reviewing Heartstopper today, and I'm really excited about it. I even have the shirt on. It's so cute. This was a gift. This was a gift from one of my best friends for Christmas, and I love it so much. So why am I reviewing Heartstopper now? There's a couple reasons. One, season 3 is about to come out in October. I don't remember the exact date it's supposed to come out, but I'm really excited about it. And two, it's come to my attention that some people have not watched Heartstopper. I don't know why this came as a shock to me, like everyone in the world is going to watch Heartstopper. But when I was looking at season 3's trailer, which is crazy, I'm so afraid and also excited because there's so much happening in this season. But when I went to the comments, there were people saying, oh, like, should I watch Heartstopper? I've never watched it before. Like, I've seen clips of it, but I've never watched it. And I was just like, what? Like, that is just like, I don't know why that shocked me so much, even though it took me almost a full year to watch Heartstopper season 1 when my friends recommended it to me, but that's besides the point. So I thought it would be kind of a good idea to review it starting from season 1, whether it be for people who've never seen it or if it's for people who don't really want to rewatch the past seasons and just kind of want a recap of what happened. This is for you. So if you are looking for a review of Heartstopper, you come to the right place. Heartstopper is one of my favorite shows. I remember watching it for the first time and just like falling in love with it like immediately, like from episode 1, like had me hook, line, and sinker. I was like, oh, this is great. What I love about Heartstopper is this show originates from books or comics. I've never read the books or comics. I've thought about it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But what I love about Heartstopper is it comes off as, and it is, but it comes off as this really romantic, cheesy high school love story that is very LGBTQ plus based. But it also talks about real life issues along with it, without it being super dark in a way, you know what I mean? I really love it because it feels like the perfect balance between cheesy, romantic, high school story plus also talking about real life topics, which I love. So in this review, I'm only going to be covering episodes 1 and 2 of season 1. I've seen season 1 about a dozen times. I remember before season 2 came out, I was just rewatching season 1 over and over again because I loved it that much. So if you haven't seen Heartstopper, I would definitely recommend it. That's pretty much it for this intro, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So, like I said, I'm only going to be reviewing episodes 1 and 2 of season 1. And the first episode, I mean, we learn a lot in the first episode, which I feel like is ideal because you kind of want to capture the viewer's attention and like keep them wanting to watch like more episodes, which I think they did a great job because we learned so much in episode 1. But before I get into the first episode, I want to talk about our characters first for a little bit. I want to introduce you to them and tell you what their story is. Starting off with our first character, who is Charlie. He's our main character. He is a year 10 student. Also, if you see me looking down, I have notes on my computer, so that's what I'm looking at. Charlie is our main character. He's a year 10 student who was recently outed at his school, so he did not get to come out on his own free will. They didn't specify who he was outed by. It just came out that he was outed, and now people know that he's gay. So now we kind of see him facing the struggle of getting bullied by his peers. Our next character is Nick, who is pretty much the love interest. Nick is a year 11 student who's the star rugby player of the school. That's how we are introduced to him. So another thing that I love about this show is even though it's like a classic cheesy romance teen high school show, they don't put into play like the stereotypes, and this is also a British based show. They don't put, which could explain what I'm about to say, but they don't put in the stereotypes of, oh, Nick is this jock who is the star rugby player and everybody loves him and like people praise him. Like that is such an American stereotype when it comes to like high school teen like shows. Take into example Euphoria. Like Nate Jacobs was that star, like everyone loved him. He was a football player, like, you know what I mean? Like that is such an American stereotype. So that could explain why they didn't put those stereotypes into play, but I just love that Nick is this normal kid who is known as the star rugby player, but he's not like praised for it and like everyone wants his attention. He's just like a normal kid. Now Charlie has 3 best friends, who is Tao, Elle, and Isaac. Now Tao, one of Charlie's best friends, we don't learn much about him from the jump really, but one thing we do learn is that he is very, very protective of his friends. And throughout this entire season, Tao's role is basically trying to talk some sense into Charlie and tell him that he can never get close to a rugby player because they're mean to him and they bully him, and like why would he ever want to do that? So that's really what Tao's role is in this first season. Elle, Charlie's second best friend, Elle is a trans woman, and the first thing we find out about her is that she's switching from Truman, which is their all boys school, to Higgs, which is their all girls school. And we kind of see her facing the struggle of making friends because all of her, you know, friends are left at Truman. So she's here at Higgs by herself, kind of trying to adapt and struggling to make friends. Isaac, we don't know anything about Isaac in this first season. Isaac, and I don't mean this in like a mean way, but Isaac is just kind of a body in this season. Like he's there and he's with his friends, but the only thing he really does in this season, he spends most of his time either reading or hanging out with his friends. And he's also fairly quiet and like doesn't talk really. He talks, but like not a lot. Now Ben is our antagonist of the show. Now we're introduced to Ben as Charlie's boyfriend, and I put that in quotes on purpose. We're introduced to him as Charlie's boyfriend. He is kind of struggling to come to terms with his sexuality. I think he knows his sexuality. He's bisexual, but while trying to keep his sexuality at bay, like not let anyone know that he's on the DL, the down low, he's also not taking Charlie's feelings into consideration. So he'll meet up with Charlie and, you know, be like, I want to see you, and like sweet talk him, but then tell him, oh, don't tell anybody like about this, which is really, really, I can imagine, hurtful to the other person because they're like, it feels like you're ashamed of me. And then we have Tara and Darcy. So Tara and Darcy are girls at Higgs High School who become friends with Elle, and they are important to the storyline, but I won't get into how until we get into the review. So those are all of our characters that are kind of important in this season. So now we're going to get into episode 1. So kicking off, we start episode 1. Picture this with me. Charlie walks into school and he seems to be in a relatively good mood, and he gets a text on his phone, and it's from Ben, who's asking him to meet up with him in the library secretly. So he seems to be like pretty excited about it. So he goes to the library and to find Ben, and when he gets there, he's not there. So he looks at his phone and he sees that he gets a text from Ben saying, oh, never mind, let's meet up later. So already off the jump, really inconsiderate of his time and his feelings, because one, Charlie could have been like, no, I have to get to class, but you know, he's like, okay, like I'm gonna meet up with him because I want to see him, because like I like him. So off the jump, we already see Ben in kind of a bad light. He goes to class, or it's not even class, it's like, for us in America we call it homeroom, but in, you know, this show in like England or London or whatever, they call it form. So he goes to form, and his teacher is assigning seats, and he gets seated next to Nick Nelson. Now off the jump, when his teacher first tells him that Nick Nelson is a rugby player, he rolls his eyes because the rugby team is the main people that bully him for being gay.
But isn't Charlie Spring? Happy New Year.
Hi, sir.
Come to join the ranks of Hamlet House?
Pardon me, sir.
Let's see, where did I put you in the seating plan? Ah, yes, you're over there. Mr. Nicholas Nelson. He's in year 11, so only 1 year older than you. One of the rugby boys, do you think? I'm sure you'll get along swimmingly.
So then once he sees him, it's kind of like, and this is where like the cheesy romance comes in, it's kind of almost like, I don't want to say love at first sight, but the look he gives is like love at first sight. So he goes to sit next to him, and we have the classic line where he sits down and they look at each other, and Charlie goes, so that is kind of an ongoing thing in Heartstopper, the like hi line. It's super cute. And also I love the visual representation of feelings in this show, because off the bat we kind of see that Charlie's already developing a crush on Nick, and you'll notice that when someone is developing feelings for someone in the show, they'll kind of draw like leaves going around them, or like some type of visual effect that will show you that they're feeling feelings for that person. Now after this, we cut to the lunch scene where Charlie is having lunch with Tao and Isaac, two of his best friends, and Tao is kind of venting about missing Elle because she, as I said before, moved from Truman to Higgs, the all-girls school. So he's kind of venting about missing her, and like he keeps buying her apple juice because every day he would buy her and him apple juice. So then he catches Charlie kind of spacing out and watching something else. So he follows his line of vision and he sees him watching not necessarily just the rugby players, but specifically Nick Nelson. So Tao asks him, he's like,
Isn't that Nick Nelson? The guy you sit next to in form? Who? The one that looks like a golden retriever?
He doesn't look like a golden retriever.
kind of right off the bat, Tao notices that Charlie has developed a crush on Nick Nelson, and he kind of starts chastising him and is like, you cannot like this guy. Like, he is a rugby player. They're the same people that have been bullying you since you got outed. And Charlie is kind of just looking through it through rose-colored glasses, and it's like, but he's different. Like, Nick is so different. He's so nice. So Tao immediately gets on his phone and texts Elle to tell her that Charlie is obsessed with a rugby player. And then he goes on to ask her, like, oh, how are things at Higgs? How is it today? Because I'm assuming she hasn't been here for very long. Once he asks her this, we see that Elle is struggling to make friends. In this scene, she's at lunch and she's sitting by herself texting Tao, just trying to like keep herself company, but she hasn't made any friends yet. Sometimes Charlie will go to his art teacher, and I have his name written down, but I don't know how to pronounce it. But you know who I'm talking about if you've seen it. Sometimes he'll go to his art teacher's room to have lunch and kind of just sit in there and talk to him. But he also goes to him for advice or when he needs to vent about his feelings. So in this scene, he's kind of trying to vent to his art teacher about Ben. And so at first his art teacher is like, is it another bully? Like, is there something else I need to sort out? And he's like, no, it's not that. So then he eventually ends up telling him,
I've got a boyfriend.
Oh, well, congratulations.
and he could tell that Charlie's kind of holding something back, like he wants to say something else. So he kind of sets his stuff down and gives him his full attention. And Charlie tells his art teacher that
I don't think he even thinks we're boyfriends anyway. He ignores me sometimes. He doesn't even like people seeing us talk to each other in the corridors. He pretends like he doesn't know who I am. But then when it's just us two, he's fine.
So then his art teacher asks him, he's like,
Well, have you talked to him about how that makes you feel?
No.
Maybe you should talk to him then?
Charlie like doesn't really want to confront the situation, I guess, because Charlie, in my mind, he's really non-confrontational, which is so real. And he's like,
What do you want me to say? Break up with him?
Don't know.
Do you want to break up with him?
I don't know.
Well, I can't solve your problems for you, Charlie.
once the day is over, he's walking out of the school, I'm assuming to maybe go find Ben. And as he's walking towards the front gate, he finds Ben, but Ben is with a girl. We quickly find out that this girl is not just a friend because they kiss. And so Charlie is obviously hurt by this because, like, what? Like, they're supposed to be together, even though they're not public about it, they're supposed to be together. Later that day, once he goes home, he texts Ben and basically tells him that he doesn't want to see him anymore. And as you could probably guess, Ben starts freaking out. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this guy. Pretty much after that, Charlie ignores him and like just goes to sleep. So after this, the next day at school, we see Charlie in PE class. And we find out that Charlie is really good at running. He's like really fast. Nick sees Charlie and he's like, wow, he's really fast. So later in the day, he goes up to Charlie at his locker. He goes to ask him something, and Charlie is so real, because he has these like daydreams of what he wants Nick to say or what he'll imagine he's about to say. It's always wrong, but he has this daydream, and basically Nick tells him,
I had something I wanted to ask you. Charlie, I wanted to tell you that I'm gay too, and I'm in love with you. Do you want to go out with me? I want to be with you forever.
But realistically, what Nick was going to ask him was,
Do you want to join the rugby team? What?
He's asking him to join the rugby team because without a reserve, they can't play against other school teams. At first, Charlie's really hesitant. He's like,
I don't really know how to play.
That's fine. I can teach you.
Aren't I a bit small and weak to be a rugby player?
We're just a school team, you know. It's not that serious.
So you're saying I am small and weak?
Wait, no. No.
Eventually, Charlie agrees because, you know, that means more time he can spend with Nick. But it also means that he'll be around the people that bully him all the time, which is kind of a win-lose situation. He joins the rugby team, and Nick starts teaching him how to play. And at first, he seems like a little distant, like the team doesn't want to let him in. They talk about him, blah, 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 stuff like that. But as time goes on and he's, you know, going to practice more, we see that most of the team, except for, you know, a few people, most of the team are started to accept him as one of the team members. So they, you know, include him in activities, and like they help him learn. And, you know, if they pass by him, they'll be like, come on, it's like time for practice, which is really cute to see him kind of grow to be a part of something. But we also see that he's starting to grow closer to Nick. And I think this is the very beginning, of Nick kind of realizing he may feel more for Charlie than just friendship, because it's a clip of a scene where they're practicing by themselves. It's not a team practice. They're practicing by themselves, and he's watching Charlie, and the leaves flow around him, which means he's feeling something for Charlie.
Well done.
So after practice, Charlie's about to leave to go home, and he gets a text from Ben. And Ben is asking him if he can meet up with him after practice in the music room or the music hall or whatever. And at first Charlie is just like, why? Like, why do you want to talk to me? He's like, just please come talk to me. So Charlie, of course, gives in and like goes to talk to him. And Nick sees him going to the music room and is like kind of confused. So once Charlie goes to the music room or music hall, Ben is there, and like his first initial like thing is to kind of make fun of him and be like, you're wearing a coat, it's not even cold. And Charlie is over it at this point. Charlie is just like, I don't even want to be here, like why did you ask me to be here? And he's like, it's February. And Ben calls him lame. And I'm like, okay, if you're trying to get this guy back, why are you making fun of him? Like, it could be his way of trying to, like, break the tension that is very obviously there. But I'm just like, bro, you already treated him bad. Like, you need to be a suck-up if you want to get him back. So then Ben tries to go and, like, touch him. And Charlie's obviously just like, don't touch me. And he's like, what's your problem? Ben accuses Charlie of being scared that people are gonna find out.
You're clearly just scared of getting caught.
Why would I be scared of getting caught? Everyone in school already knows I'm gay. You're the one who's scared of getting caught. You can't even look at me when other people are around.
He's projecting. Ben is literally projecting onto Charlie, like, oh, you're scared people are gonna find out. And I'm like, babe, that's you. Babe, that is literally you. Why? Charlie literally has no reason to be scared because people already know he's gay. You, on the other hand, people don't know you're bisexual, so you would be the one that would be afraid to let people know that you like girls and guys. Like, why are you projecting right now? And then Charlie also tells him that,
not to mention the fact that you have a girlfriend. Yeah, I've seen you with her at the school gate. Thanks for telling me. Oh wait, you didn't.
So basically, like, Ben's excuse is like,
Don't be angry at me for not wanting to come out yet. I'm not angry about that. If you're figuring stuff out, fine. Take your time. I've already been there for you. Then why are you angry at me? I'm angry because you never even slightly cared about my feelings. We'll never meet up when you want to, where you want to, when you feel like kissing a boy.
clocked it, like gagged. He's gagged. Obviously, Ben gets angry at Charlie for reading him too well. So his solution is to try and force himself onto Charlie. Like he's trying to force him to kiss him, and Charlie's telling him to stop. And he's telling Charlie, he's like, I'm literally trying to figure things out. Like, what more do you want from me? There was a point where Ben's kissing him and Charlie's kind of just gonna let it happen until Nick comes in. Nick comes in and like pulls him off of him, and he basically is like,
He told you to stop. Go on. Piss off.
and I'm like, I remember seeing this scene for the first time and I was so freaking hyped because I was like, I knew he was gonna happen. I was like, Nick's gonna come in and like save him, and he did. And I would give anything to watch that scene for the first time again because I was just so freaking hyped, bro. Like, it was amazing. After this, they, go out of the building and they go their separate ways, and Charlie wants to text Nick to thank him for coming and like saving him or defending him. And this entire time he's like struggling to conjure up a text, which is so freaking real because I do not know how to text people that I like. I hate it. I feel so awkward. I feel like I don't know how to carry a conversation. It's like, this is so real. And that scene is just so cute because I think it's a really cute way to wrap up the end of the episode, which this is, because it just shows that they are both interested, but it's so subtle. It's really cute. So that first episode, obviously we learn a lot. We learn a lot about Charlie. We learn a lot about Ben and Elle and a little bit about Nick, but that was a really good first episode. Like, it really had me, when I first watched it, hook, line, and sinker. Like, it took everything in me not to binge watch this show in one day. This show is it's so bingeable. Like, it's such a binge-worthy show. It's so good. So now we're gonna go ahead and get straight into episode 2. Episode 2 opens up with Charlie and Nick in their separate homes. And another thing we learn about Charlie is that he plays the drums. So he has a, like, kind of fake drum set in his room, and he's playing the drums or whatever. And on the other side, we see Nick in his house kind of going through the same thing Charlie was going through at the end of episode 1, where he wants to check up on Charlie, ask him if he's okay, and he's typing things up and erasing them because he just doesn't quite know how to put the question. And eventually he sends something, and I think what he sends was like, Charlie, kind of keeps it vague, and he's just like, he wants to tell him more. He knows that Ben is like kind of his friend, so he doesn't want to like dump on his friend. So he is doing the same thing. He's typing up things, erasing them, getting frustrated with himself, and Nick is constantly checking his phone to see if Charlie has texted back. So eventually Nick texts him again, and he's like, so Charlie ends up telling him how he met Ben, and how he met him is one day he was at school in the music room playing the drums, and Ben walks in, and this is after Charlie was outed to the school. And he walks in and kind of sits beside him, and he's like, I heard you came out last year. And Charlie tells him like, it wasn't my choice, like somebody outed me. He's like, well, it's still brave that you're putting up with it. And he basically introduces himself and makes it known that he's interested in him. And we cut back to the scene with Charlie and Nick, and He tells him the entire story, and basically at the end he's like, I guess he was just using me. Then he apologizes to Nick. He's like, I'm sorry, I know he was your friend. And Nick, being such a good person, he's just like, well, he's not anymore. He's like I can't stand him. Like, I can't believe he would do something like that. And he's like, don't ever talk to him again. And it's just so like sweet because he's so willing. And it's not even like Nick and Ben were like best friends. Like, they were just acquaintances in the same friend group. And Ben doesn't even play rugby. So I'm like, how did he get in his friend group? He tells him he's not friends with him anymore. He's so sorry he had to go through that. And then Charlie kind of tests the waters to see if Nick is straight or not. So he ends up sending him a text that says, thank you for being my straight emotional support friend or whatever. And he sends it to see what Nick is going to say. And obviously at this point, Nick hasn't started questioning his sexuality yet. So he sends back and he's like, of course, like, it's okay. And Charlie is obviously disappointed, as anyone would be, because he's like, okay, he's straight, like, whatever. Like, I already knew that. This is a confirmation of what I already knew. Coming away from Nick and Charlie, we go back to Elle. Elle is still struggling to make friends at her new school, but her teacher, one of her teachers, comes up to her and asks her how she likes it here and like how she's coming along. And Elle is very, you know, like shy or like vague, so she's like, I'm fine, like it's fine or whatever. And she tells her, you know, you haven't made any friends yet. I could assign Tara to look after you, which if you're a student and your teacher is like, I can assign someone to look after you, that is so like, no, right? Because it makes it sound like a job, like almost like they're babysitting you. So of course she's gonna say like, no, I'm fine, like it's okay. So then her teacher's like, okay, like make a deal with me, like by the end of like exams week or whatever, I want you to have made at least one friend. So Elle's like, okay, yeah, like maybe. And so ever since her teacher like told her about Tara, and Tara hangs out with Darcy, they're already friends, she kind of keeps her eye on them. Elle kind of keeps her eye on them because they seem nice enough, like they talk to other people, they're always together, so she kind of like keeps her eye on them and like watches them. And eventually one day Tara knows who Elle is because they're in the same class, but she like dropped her pencil case, so she brings it to her and she's like,
Oh, you dropped your pencil case. Oh, thanks, Tara. It's really cute. Where's it from? Paper Chase, but I painted all the little flowers on it. Really? That's so cool. I can barely draw stick figures. Do you want to meet up with us for lunch today? Did Miss Greenwood tell you to try and make friends with me? No. We eat in the canteen, so you can join us anytime.
That's Elle's first like gateway into like a new friendship. The next day at Truman, the all-boys school, Charlie is kind of looking through him and Nick's text, and Tao kind of leans over and looks at his phone. And Tao, I love Tao. Don't get me wrong. I love him so much. I think he is me in a way because I am very protective of my friends. But Tao was like low-key annoying me in this season. And I get it, like not annoying me to the fact where I didn't like him, because I do like Tao. But I just knew that Nick was feeling, I think it's because I had that background knowledge that Nick was feeling something for Charlie. So every time Tao was like, you need to get over him, like he's straight, I was just like, Tao, shut up, like stop blocking his, like stop it. Like it was so freaking annoying. But I still love Tao. I don't dislike him because of that, because I fully get that he didn't want Charlie to get hurt because of Nick, or like hurt his own feelings thinking that there was something potentially there. So he was basically telling him like, you need to get over him, like he's straight. And Charlie was like, but like bisexual people exist, like it could be a chance. And then he basically tells Tao, he's like, but I know he's straight because he told me. And it's just really sad because I'm like, dang, like I know that feeling all too well, like when you really like someone and you pretty much know that they don't like you back. Like I know that story all too well. Once he gets to form with Nick is showing Charlie pictures of his dog. He has, I think his dog is a border collie, because my mom had a border collie when I was young. Her name is Nellie. And he's like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. And he's like, you should come to my house and like meet her, which is the first time they're gonna be hanging out outside of school, which is kind of a big deal to Charlie, because he's just like, bro, I'm going to his house? Like, what do you mean? So obviously he says yes. I think it's the same day, like he asked him to come over after school. So we see Charlie at home. He's like kind of obsessing over his appearance, like, oh my god, does my hair look okay? Because he got a haircut. And his sister Tori comes in. I love his sister, like, she's so real. I love her so much. But basically she's like,
where you going?
Round of friends?
Towels?
No, his name's Nick. Is my hair too short?
It looks the same.
But is it okay?
It looks the same.
Great. Thanks.
Have fun at...
so then he goes to Nick's house and, you know, he knocks on the door and Nick opens the door and he's like, this is Nellie, and he's like saying hi to the dog. And I love this little detail because I did not catch it until I saw Kit Connor in an interview like pointing it out, and now every time I rewatch it I clock it immediately. Nick notices Charlie's haircut and he's like,
you got a haircut?
Is it... is it bad?
No, you look... It looks great.
like he was gonna say, you look great. Like, I'm so... it's such a good like minor dialogue detail, but it's so good. Once he's there, they like hang out and they're playing games, and then eventually it starts snowing, so they go outside and start playing in the snow and take pictures and like play with the dog, and it's just a really, really cute bonding scene for them to see how much they're growing close as friends. So once Charlie's gone home, Nick is in the kitchen with his mom and he's like making himself tea, and his mom asks him, he's like,
Charlie seems like a lovely boy. When did you meet him?
A couple of months ago. He's in my form.
He's very different to other friends, isn't he? You seem much more yourself around him.
Do I?
You do.
and you know how important this is because moms always know. Moms know, because I've been through this where when I was young, I was friends with someone and my mom tells me, she's like, I don't like them. Like, I don't think they're a good friend for you. And obviously you're young, so you're like, Mom, you know what you're talking about. Like, that's my friend. And then it turns out that they're not your friend. That they're really not. And you're like, dang, she was right. So I feel like that scene of Nick's mom telling him that he seems more himself around Charlie is so freaking important, because it knows, like, mom's intuition, even though she thinks they're only friends at the time, mom's intuition is so real. Like, it's so real. Next day at school, they're at rugby practice. And Charlie is the reserve, so he doesn't really get to play much, so he's just kind of on the sidelines, like, watching. And Tao goes over to him and, you know, is kind of talking to him about rugby. Then Charlie brings up the fact that he thinks that Nick might like him. And he's like, I know I'm not trying to get my hopes up, but, you know, sometimes he seems to be, like, kind of flirty, and we get along really well, and I just think maybe there's a chance he might like me. So then Tao has to go and freaking crush his dreams. I know he's only protecting him, we're trying, but Tao then tells him
Nick likes a girl. What? Like, he's in love with a girl.
that he talked to a friend of a friend and asked him if Nick is interested in anyone, because he might have a friend that might be interested. And he said that Nick is single, but he's super interested in Tara from Higgs. And you'll never believe the reason why they think this. You'll never believe the reason. The reason they think that Nick is interested in Tara is because they kissed one time when they were 13. Okay. Obviously Charlie is super upset at this new information. He doesn't tell him all that because Tao doesn't know all that. But he basically is like, the thing, Tao's word choice is so freaking crazy, because he goes from Nick likes a girl and Charlie's like, what? And he's like, Nick's like in love with a girl. And I'm like, in love is actually crazy. Like, why would you say that? So then once he sees that Charlie is really upset about it, he texts Elle and Isaac and asks if they can meet up after school because they have a Charlie emergency. So they meet up with Elle after school, and Tao and Isaac are asking Elle if she knows Tara Jones. And Tara is like, yeah, like, I know her. And she's like, you know, can you ask her, like, if she likes a guy named Nick Nelson? And at this point, Elle and Tara and Darcy are kind of, they're not close, but they're becoming close. Like, they're becoming a friend group. And Elle is just like, I can't just ask this girl that I just met like if she likes a guy. Like that's really like kind of invasive and private. Charlie obviously is trying to mask his emotions. He's like, I'm fine, like it's literally okay, like I'm just being dumb. So Elle finally caves and she's like, okay, like if I get the chance to ask her, like I will. So the next day when Elle goes to school, she's in French class with Tara and Darcy, and they are in this trio practicing their French pronunciation. So Tara asks Darcy, it's not on accident, but she makes it seem like it's on accident, that Darcy's like,
Oui, j'ai une petite amie. I think so it makes it feminine, so you'd be saying you have a girlfriend. Oh, what? Oh, your turn. Okay. Tara, vous avez un petit ami?
Non, je n'ai pas un petit ami.
What? It's true.
I know. All right, let's move away from the boyfriend questions.
okay, so this next scene, oh my god, I love this next scene so much. So once they're in forum, Charlie is kind of out of it because he's still thinking about the fact that Nick might like Tara. So Nick notices this and he's like,
What's up?
he doesn't really say what's wrong, but he ends up asking him.
Do you want to come around my house?
So obviously Nick accepts. We cut back to Elle. She's like walking around the halls and she goes to this empty classroom where Tara and Darcy are, and they're kind of like giggling and like kind of touching each other, like their hands. They're touching each other's hands and they're like playing around. And Elle walks in and she's like, hey, and they like immediately jump back from each other, like trying to act natural. They're not acting natural at all. Darcy is so funny. She's like,
I was just admiring Tara's hands. Because, like, mine gets super crusty in the cold.
so then Elle finally catches on and she's like,
I'm sorry if I've got totally the wrong idea here, but are you two, like, dating?
Don't tell anyone, okay? Only a few of our friends know, but I think you're officially part of the inner circle.
we find out that Tara and Darcy are dating if it wasn't freaking obvious from the beginning. So that's how Elle finds out that at least that Tara doesn't like Nick. She doesn't know anything about Nick, but she knows that at least Tara doesn't like Nick. So once Nick comes around to Charlie's house, they're sitting down watching a movie. And, well, Charlie's not watching it. He fell asleep. But they're on the couch watching a movie. And Nick is still awake. And he's, like, kind of watching. And he looks over to see that Charlie is asleep. And I love this scene because Nick starts getting in his own head about Charlie. And he's looking at him and kind of admiring him. And like I said before, I love the visual representation of emotions in this show. Because Nick sees that Charlie's hand is laying on the couch, like kind of open like this, and he kind of hovers his hand over Charlie's like he's about to go and hold it, and there's a visual like representation of like fireworks, like their hands are like this and there's like fireworks between them. And Nick is like kind of freaking out. Like you can see it on his face that he obviously feels something. And it's not like actual feeling of the fireworks, but it's like the feeling of like, oh my god, like I think I might like this guy. So then after that, he like has to go home. And I think does Charlie say he's like, I wish you didn't have to go or something? He's like, yeah, me too. And Nick sees Charlie in the blanket. He's like,
You look so cuddly like that. Do I? Yeah.
And then Nick goes in for a hug, and it's not like a okay I'll see you later hug. It's like a hug, like and then he pulls away and looks at Charlie and he's like,
Okay, see you Monday.
and Tori is so freaking real because she's behind Charlie like in her doorway and she's like,
I don't think he's straight.
coming to the end of this episode, Nick finally gets home and he kind of sits on his bed and he's going through the photos that him and Charlie took the other day at his house when it was snowing. And he's like looking through the photos and he clicks on one and zooms in on Charlie's face and it's kind of just like smiling at the picture. So he does what every single teenager does when they are questioning their sexuality. He grabs his laptop and he looks up, "Am I gay?" quiz. It's not funny, but it is because it's just such a universal experience. We don't see, the episode ends with him pressing enter, so we don't actually see him take the quiz. But also before this episode ends, we see that Charlie is texting his friend group, so Elle, Tao, and Isaac, and he's telling them about like what him and Nick did while they were, you know, hanging out. And then Elle comes in and she's like, so this obviously gives Charlie a little bit more hope because he's like, okay, at least I know Tara doesn't feel that way about him, but he still doesn't know about Nick. But I think he's kind of getting that hope back because of that hug that they shared, because that hug was kind of intimate, if you ask me. So that's how episode 2 closes out, with Nick basically questioning his sexuality and wondering, you know, if he likes Charlie and like taking a "Am I gay?" quiz. These first 2 episodes is a lot, and they're really good episodes. Like, they really keep you wanting to watch more. So like I said, I really love this show because along with it being kind of cheesy and awkward in a way, it also talks about real life issues like bullying, questioning your sexuality, trying to fit in, like when it comes to like Elle trying to fit in, because I can imagine her being trans, her going to a trans all-girls school would be kind of intimidating because you're wondering, like, do they know? Like, what if they don't accept me? Like, you know what I mean? So I really love that. And it only gets better going into season 2. Like, season 1 is really good, but season 2 really talks about some real life issues that I really love, and I cannot wait to get to season 2. That's pretty much it for this review of the first 2 episodes. Let me know what you guys think. If you've watched it, let me know why you love the show. If you don't, let me know why. Just tell me your opinions about the show. If you guys like this video, make sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment down below of any other things you want me to review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!